everybody, this is Dee Burks, and today we're going to be having a coffee chat. I'll be answering some of your questions about recession. We've been talking about that quite a bit, and then we'll also be catching up on things that are going on. So grab your coffee and your favorite treat. Don't these look beautiful? And let's chat. Now the first question I want to address is, and I got this question quite a bit on previous videos, is what exactly is a recession? The talking heads that be have been playing around with the definition of recession, and it's really broad. Recession is basically defined as when our gross domestic product shrinks for 2 consecutive quarters. That means zip squat to most people. Nothing. But basically what happens is it's a period when you have inflation, as we've seen. You have people pulling back on spending, decreased demand, decreased output. That's what they're talking about, our gross domestic product. Our output is decreasing. All of those indicate there is a general pullback or shrinking in the economy. You and I both know this has been going on for some time. It's just that financial people and political people, unfortunately, want to do everything they can to put off acknowledging, hey, things are getting bad. This is also true of people who run companies. If you've listened to any of the quarterly meetings, and actually the Apple quarterly meeting was one of the most entertaining, every time they're asked a question these days on demand, what about future demand, they avoid it. Tim Cook, who held that meeting for Apple, he was asked that question specifically 3 times. What's the future demand? He avoided it every time. That's because if they say, hey, demand's decreasing, guess what? Their stock price goes down. So just because they're not talking about it doesn't mean it's not happening. They know it is. Every indication is it is. So let's kind of get that out of the way. Recession is just a general term for the economy pulling back. That's all it is. And I did have a comment that said, oh, it's not true. You can't have recession without high unemployment and there's jobs everywhere. Let's talk about that. This recession is a little bit different in that it follows the heels of a pandemic. The last few years, millions, and I mean millions of people stepped out of the workforce. They retired. In the last quarter of 2020 alone, 28 million people retired from the workforce. And you know this to be true. How many news stories have you seen about the shortage in teachers? They're all retiring. The shortage in nurses, they're all retiring. That is happening in every sector. No one wanted to be exposed to the public when there were unknown pathogens running loose. People stepped out of the workforce because they could. They had been working because they wanted to. A lot of baby boomers were in their late 60s, early 70s. They're still working. They're not anymore. Most of them stepped out of the workforce. People my age, the Gen Xers in our 50s, a lot of us stepped out of the formal workforce. We're working for ourselves, we're working part-time, we're doing things we want to. We could retire or partially retire, so we did. Staying in the workforce when there is a worker shortage is terrible, and y'all know this is true. There are increased workload, the demands are ridiculous. They're just expecting you to pick up the slack for all the workers. And many companies already are laying people off. We see that in the tech sector already. They're laying thousands of people off right now. Many other companies, while they may not be formally laying people off, have implemented hiring freezes, and they are not backfilling positions. So it's not going to take long for those unemployment numbers to catch up. Unemployment is always a lagging indicator. As a recession deepens, more layoffs happen, fewer people hire, they don't backfill those positions, unemployment skyrockets, and it will. It's just a matter of time. It seems like it won't right now, but it will. So, you know, when you talk about those formal definitions, people argue over semantics. Oh, it's got to be this or it's got to be that. Y'all, you can go to the grocery store and tell we're in a recession. You also hear another few buzzwords that I've been asked about. I got asked what demand destruction was. Well, that's just a new term for the idea that as prices rise, people buy less. This is not a new concept, but they're calling it demand destruction, and it sounds brand new. It's not. That is just a basic economic tenet. When prices rise, people buy less. When gas prices go up, you drive less. When airline prices go up, you travel less. These are just basic, normal tendencies of people when prices go up. That is even true in something as basic as food. When prices go up, people start substituting cheaper or less expensive, maybe even generic brands for name brands. This is basic consumer behavior. It's not new. So people are talking about, oh, demand destruction. This isn't new. So don't let those buzzwords throw you. It's just normal human behavior. Now let's talk about something called shrinkflation. If you've been to the grocery store, you know what this is. Companies don't want their demand to be destroyed, so they're really hesitant to raise prices too much. So what do? They shrink their product. Do you remember when Little Debbie oatmeal pies were like this big? Now they're like this big? That's shrinkflation. The price hasn't changed much. It's changed some, but not a huge amount. But the product has gotten much smaller. You're going to see more and more of that too. And that's because those companies don't want to damage the demand. They need to sell product, but because of the costs involved, they can't sell the same amount of product for the same price. So, these buzzwords tend to really get to people because they're not sure, okay, what is this? Is this new? None of this is new. We have all been down this road before. So no matter what buzzwords people use for a recession or what new definition they decide a recession is, it doesn't matter. We've been down this road. We know what it is. One of the things that I tell people all the time is stop worrying about it. There's nothing you can do about, are we in a recession, are we not? Nothing you can do about it. All you can do is to keep moving forward. And that means doing things that you want to do. I had planned to make a really big announcement August 1st of a new thing that I'm doing. Yeah, I'm not quite there yet. And I also did a video recently about not letting yourself off the hook. It's easy to, doesn't matter what you're doing, even if it's a diet, say, I'll start Monday, I'll start next month, well, I'll just put it off. No, time flies. I mean, is it only me, or did y'all also think the summer was like 5 minutes long? It's like I missed it. It's like I missed it. I don't know what happened, but it went by so fast. And that's what happens. No matter what your goals are or how you think you want to help yourself, moving forward is the only way you're going to get there. And I'm giving this little pep talk to me too. I have moved my date until August the 10th, and I'll announce it as soon as it's available and let y'all know about it. But I'm not going to move it to September the 1st. When I told someone that I was going to have to move my date, they're like, oh, you can start September the 1st. I'm like, no. That gives me a whole nother month to be lazy and not get it done. So don't let yourself off the hook. It can be really easy when things feel depressed and like you're in a downward spiral to really feel like you can't get things done. And it's not true. So this is a little pep talk for you, a little pep talk for me. Get your butt in gear and keep moving. And I'm sure y'all saw at the beginning of this video these fabulous little macaroons. Aren't they so cute? Macaroons are like my biggest weakness. They're absolutely my biggest weakness. When I was in Vegas, I probably went to every macaroon store or bakery that had macaroons, and there's a lot of them, and got all the different kinds. It was so fun. Well, I have a friend who has a podcast. Her name's Melissa. And there's a link to her podcast below. I've been on the podcast before, and some of y'all are familiar with it. But Melissa used to work in restaurants. And we got to talking about these macaroons. They're just so hard to make. There's very specific things you have to do. So I've never really made them because I'm like, oh, is that a headache I really want? It's easier just to buy them. And they're expensive. So she decided to give it a whirl. And let me tell you what, these are out of this world. So if you were thinking of doing something like that, maybe you're thinking of baking cakes and selling them at the farmer's market. Maybe you're thinking of doing some sort of craft or artwork. Whatever you're thinking of doing, don't wait. Don't wait. You never know how great it might turn out. And she is going to start selling these. This one in particular is a lemon macaroon, and it tastes just like those lemon Girl Scout cookies. It is so good. So, and she brought some this morning just so I could show them on the video, which was wonderful because I got free macaroons. It was awesome. But there are people all around you that have these wonderful creative ideas. You can help them. They can help you. I've got a meeting with Linda, you know, my book friend Linda. I've got a meeting with her to plot the next book. We help each other with plotting and critique. There are so many things you can do and so many creative people you can be associated with. And when you're in a recession, you need that outlet. You need that positive energy in your life. So this was just a quick coffee chat with you to encourage you and encourage me to get on the ball. Be around those creative people. Do those things that are on your to-do list, and don't worry about what a recession is or isn't. Just get on with it. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, please click subscribe, and I'll see you next time.